Hours ahead of the meeting between US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Russia says it has carried out massive strikes on temporary deployment sites of Ukraine's armed forces and foreign mercenaries in 142 areas. The Russian Defense Ministry has said that over the past 2 hours, Russian troops have struck a missile storage site, ammunition depots and warehouses of long-range unmanned aerial vehicles in Ukraine. It further said that Russian air defense forces shot down 300 Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles over the past day and has intercepted a Ukrainian UAV of a nuclear power plant in Smolensk region. Now, Ukraine, in the meantime, has reported attacking a train station serving as a critical logistics hub for Russian military ammunition transport in Voronezh region. But on the ground, Ukrainian cities continue to suffer under relentless aerial attacks. Also, Ukraine claimed that an overnight Russian drone strike on Kharkiv killed 6 people, including a child, and wounded more than a dozen others. Kharkiv's governor has confirmed the news. He cited police warnings that people may be trapped under the rubble of a 5-story apartment building that was hit. The city, which is near the Russian border, was also hit hours earlier by a ballistic missile that wounded at least 11 people. Besides Kharkiv, Russian strikes also pummeled the Sumy region, wounding 2, while in Zaporizhzhia, the number of wounded has climbed to 17, including a teenager. The blast and the debris damaged homes, commercial buildings, and even a bus stop. Emergency services have been working throughout the night, extinguishing fires, dismantling collapsed structures, and providing psychological support to affected civilians. Now, authorities say that the number of victims is still being verified. And for more, joining me on this broadcast from Moscow is Sergei Strokan, who is a Russian political analyst. Thank you so much, Mr. Strokan, for making time for us and joining us on WION The World this one.
Thanks for having me.
So now, ahead of the meeting between President Trump and Zelensky, violence is still escalating in Ukraine. It's raging on as the Russian forces continue to move forward in the east. Now, what impact is that likely to have on today's discussions at the White House?
Well, the first point is that the meetings, that marathon meetings, which are scheduled for this day, are coming as a follow-up to President Putin landmark meeting with President Trump in Alaska. While few details were revealed, that there was no even a press conference as such. According to several leaks, both presidents discussed the framework of the future peace settlement in Ukraine. So it seems that today we are facing a moment of truth in Washington, as President Zelensky, who is followed by European leaders, have to talk to President Trump and to give their response to the initial understanding which was reached in Alaska. They are facing actually a painful dilemma, either to agree to certain basic terms and conditions which were discussed in Anchorage, or stubbornly to reject that and probably to then opt for fighting with Russia, which, as you understand, is on offensive. Let me add to that before this meeting, President Trump made a stern warning to Ukraine, writing on a social network, that there's no way to come back to the time of President Obama and try to reclaim Crimea, as well as there's no way to talk about Ukraine membership in NATO. So it looks like this would come as a bitter pillow to Ukraine and its European group of support, and they will have to take some decision what to do with this. Either to continue to support Ukraine and ignore the appeal which would come from President Trump, or the other option, try to find their place in the future negotiating process where at the moment they're not present. So let us wait and see. It's quite clear that today we are waiting a moment of truth in Washington, which would probably decide, you see, and shed some light on what is in store for Ukrainian settlement.
Right, Mr. Shokin, and we know that Putin has agreed to allow US and European nations to give Ukraine Article 5-like protection as a security guarantee to bring an end to the war. But now it's pertinent to ask, what are they prepared to do to maintain and to ensure that Russia doesn't violate the agreements?
Well, those leaks you are referring to are just speculations. You see, I can't go beyond Russian position, which so far has not been spelled out in details. However, what is clear right now that it seems that Russia has already made some compromise suggestions, which would probably pave the way for the solution. We understand that any negotiations, it's a deal, and in any deal you are gaining something, you are losing something. There are certain red lines for Russia, like what is non-starter is Ukraine membership in NATO. And as far as security guarantees are concerned, I can hardly imagine that Russia would agree to the deployment of European forces in Ukraine only. Probably will have some mixed, combination of forces with some friendly countries.
Absolutely,
to Russia.
Mr. Shokin, you're right. Compromise is required from both the sides, and we know that Putin wants to control the whole of Donbas region in the east, which Zelensky has repeatedly and categorically said that he will not concede. Now, do you think Zelensky would be willing to agree to Trump's proposal of ceding territory and saying no to NATO membership for peace, or is it seeming too costly a bargain? After all, a bad deal is worse than no deal.
Well, regarding Donbas, there is no way for Russia to compromise, as Donbas has already been written into Russian constitution as one of the new Russian regions. So if President Zelensky disagree with this, then he will have to fight. But then another question comes up: how long will it take us to regain the territory? There's no way to stop the Russian offensive. Probably it's not that fast, but it is going on, and the situation has reached point of non-return. So the only way what Europeans can do, they can prolong the agony of Ukrainian army, which would have to leave Donbass whether they like it or not. So the question for President Zelensky is either to agree to this now or to face the defeat probably in 1 or 2 or 3 months. I don't know exactly what would be the time frame, but there's no way for them to control the whole region, since they're actually running out of men, of ammunition. They're on the last legs, and even European support can by no means can come as a dramatic turnaround in the whole situation.
Right, Mrs. Shokin, while you've raised some very important questions there, but another important question is, what would it actually take for lasting peace to be established? But of course, we'll have to wait for the talks to see how the situation develops. But for now, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.